Yeah.
It's an ancient tradition. Over here, guys. Thank you. 38 years. Wow. Cheers. Happy anniversary, you two. I thought it was her birthday. Cheers, Gary. Lori.
This particular painting is the Zilker Park Bridge in Austin, Texas. For a long time I've painted urban scenes, mostly of Vancouver, and that's been my main focus, realistic landscapes of the urban alleys and so on. But after a few trips to Texas, I discovered a different color sense. And you can see it in this painting. It's very bright, it's not a dark alley or anything like that. And I also developed quite a fondness for vintage and sort of Americana, which I also translate into Canadiana, but nostalgic things from the past. So I've worked all those areas in my paintings. Some of that is represented here. The bridge, for example, in Victoria, we've tried to do a few local references, but I do like using typography within a painting. I find that it kind of sets off the illustrative quality, and it gives people something to relate to.
They're made out of paper pulp, not paper mache. It works more like clay. You have to make it. I buy the pulp. I used to make it myself, ripping up newspaper and adding things and boiling it and that sort of stuff. It's a lot of work. But I found, after doing that for a number of years, I discovered something that's called celluclay. And it's pulp that's packaged and it's vacuum packed into a brick. And I just add some water and a little bit. I like to add some carpenter's glue to give it the right texture. Anyway, so I make up a batch at a time. And the other thing that I do with these things is I make a form to put the pulp over. So I use clay to make a rough form, like just say a torso, with maybe just kind of a little ball thing for a head, and I cover it with saran wrap because everything sticks. The pulp sticks to everything. So I make a rough form, and which I can use later for other things, for other pieces, and then I model the paper pulp onto that. When that dries, I cut it off, glue it back together again, and then I start making the thing from there. So it's got a rough form underneath it, but everything else is it's all hand done. That's virtually how I go about doing it. I mean, in a nutshell. Okay, is that a minute?
One more question, Ali. How long it takes you to finish one piece?
It takes a long, long time. I mean, it may only take a long, long time for me because I'm very fiddly and I keep at it until I get it the way. And also, they're fairly well. They're not rough. They're not roughly finished. They're fairly well defined. Somebody else might be able to use the same medium and the same method, but with a totally different look to it, and maybe it would only take a day or something to put it together. But it takes me a very long time. Hours and hours and hours and hours. to do them.
The last question: how long you been doing those?
25 years, maybe, something like that. I went to the Clay and Textile Arts program at Capilano College. I was originally interested in weaving and that sort of thing, but then part of the program was working with clay, and so I started working with clay, which I really enjoyed doing, and I realized that 3D was something that I was good at and I enjoyed doing. But I found that working with clay is difficult because, then you have to have a kiln and you have to learn how to do the kiln and all that. And I didn't want to. I just wanted to make the things. I didn't want to have to learn all the techniques involved and the complications of having a kiln and all that. So anyways, I discovered pulp through that program and started working with it then. And so it's just evolved since then. And I was selling at craft fairs and stuff originally. And then I sold at the Canadian Craft Museum when it was in Vancouver for a few years, but then something happened to it. It's no longer there. It's no longer in existence. And then I've been selling at the Craft Museum, the Craft Gallery on Granville Island for 20 years. And now I've just through some friends and through the competition that they had, the 12-inch, the 12 by 12 or 10 by 10 or whatever. Anyways, I submitted my piece and they took it, and then they asked me to show here.